entire slaving of the Hebrew people by the Egyptian civilization and realized this is wrong. Yeshua looked at the entire Hebrew social order around him in Judea, looked at the world as he saw it, and realized this is wrong. The astronomer Galileo looked through his telescope and realized that the entire flat earth cosmology dominating his day was entirely wrong. What's really interesting is you've got people nowadays that still insist that the world is flat. Mohammed Gandhi looked at the entire society of imperialist oppressors and all the horrible things that were happening in India and realized this is wrong. Martin Luther King looked at the entire racist society assembled around him in America and realized this is wrong. All of it, entirely wrong. Sometimes when balance has been entirely lost, God lets a person into the world that sees everything around them clearly and recognizes that it all is wrong, entirely wrong. Yet most of the world, having become ensnared in it, is unwilling to face the reality of their circumstances. The fact that each and every single thing they had ever thought, almost everything existing in the prevailing worldview of their present social order in its time, is completely, utterly, and totally wrong. Many knew this in their core, and it caused them great pain. And anytime that you see things around you that are not correct, and you know that they could be better, just because you're not hurting yourself doesn't mean that everything is okay. You have to see it from the top to the bottom. You have to. But people see things, and they look at the social order for their time and realize it's all wrong. But what can you do? More men than these knew this in their core, and it caused them great pain, but the real fact becomes to you, the more pain it brings, the harder it is for you to deal with. Yet most of us somehow buy into these engineered distractions and don't have a lot to say. Because we feel like, well, what can we do? I'm just one person. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. So we keep quiet. We don't say a lot. Having seen the results of speaking out against those in the past that did speak out against us, we won't call it lying, we'll just call it prevarication, because it's a little bit more developed than that. But all of those who, throughout history, have spoken out against these prevarications know that they were all rewarded for speaking this truth with ridicule, self-doubt, except one, mental confusion, persecution, execution, and ultimately, and some were excommunicated, but usually themselves and their status at any and all costs. The instinct for survival applies not only to beasts and bioorganisms, but to people, to businesses, to governments, to denominational religions, and to philosophies, indeed to every mental structure known to us. And the pathway of this fallen demonic mindset is to use and abuse all those who quietly surrender to the structure that would be us. In the service of their personal gain, that would be them. And the maintenance of the status quo, that would be those who rule. And we buy into it, not realizing that we're being used by Satan, and will eventually, if he follows through his plan, will all be thrown away. We stand there hoping all the time that something will change. Will change what? Or our title today. The prevaricant nature of more. Make some changes. Time to make some changes. But again, the title, the prevaricant nature of more. We know about more. That's what you want, right? More. More stuff. This is nothing new. We surrender to it throughout time, but at present, we surrender the Sabbath and holy days, saying that we don't need them anymore because that's time that we could be using to get more. Make more money, own more stuff, do more things, go more places, eat more. Of course, after eating more, we promise ourselves that we'll exercise more. But it never happens. After spending so much, we promise ourselves that we will invest more. But it never happens. But we wind up spending even more. We see the people around us with more, so we try to grow our businesses more. In doing these things, we buy more things. Each thing promising more convenience, so that we can have more leisure time. Anybody remember when they first brought computers into the offices a few years back? What did they tell us? That the computers will do all the work. We'll be able to sit around and relax, and you only have to work 4 days a week because the computers will do all the work for you. How many of y'all believe that? Stuff. Because we now see the reality of it. I don't know anybody that's working less than 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week with a big computer sitting there looking at them, just laughing at them, saying, that's what I was supposed to be doing. But I've got viruses half the time, so guess what? It is what it is. But I remember that. They said we would have more time off. Never happened. And with that time off, what we were supposed to do more of what we wanted to do. Anybody get any of that? Didn't think so. I'm sure. Wonder whatever happened to that. Let me tell you what we got. We got more. More work. That's what you got. More work. More. Makes me think of what Yahweh told the Israelites when they were slothful about giving to building the temple in Haggai, the first chapter, the third verse. Read that to me. Haggai. Haven't been there in a while. Haggai, the first chapter, the third verse, where it says, "Then came the word of Yahweh by the hand of Haggai the prophet, saying, do you have time, all of you, to dwell in your paneled houses, and this house," speaking of his own, "is deserted?" That is so real to us right now. All this space, and what is it, about 14 of us here? Now, therefore, as Yahweh of hosts said, consider your ways. You've sown much and bring in little. You are not filled. You eat, but you are not filled. You drink, but you're not satisfied. You clothe yourselves, but you're not warm. And he that is a hireling, that's everybody. Could easily say slave, because that's really what the hireling is, when you really think about it. If you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for somebody else, which means that if you take a couple days off, guess what? You might not have to come back. So basically, you're a hireling. He that is a hireling receives his wages, and they're dropped into a bag with holes. Thus, as Yahweh said, of hosts said, consider your ways. But we do. We consider our ways. We consider our ways the only way to succeed. But at what cost? At what true cost? Not money. Let's deal with the true cost. If the cost is to abandon our children to a stranger's daycare where anything is happening, we've seen the videos where they beat the children and hang them upside down and do horrible things to them, and then you come back and, what happened to little Junior? Oh, it was an accident. Something happened. You know what happened if you saw the videos, but we take our children to daycare with strangers so that after the net of our taxes, we can, after working 40 to 60 hours a week, cover the minimum credit card payments on our toys. Our toys, not theirs. You know, that phone that you lost wrecked the car with, that nice car you when a cheaper one would have been enough. No, you can't say that. Hey, I'm not here telling you what to do, I'm just telling you what you've done. We've all done it. I'm as guilty as anybody else. I put my hand up every time I say it, because it is what it is. But we pay for our toys. When what our children really want is to spend more time with us. Then perhaps, just perhaps, you got to consider that maybe the cost is too great. But it's not as if he's quit. You can't cut off everything. Can't do that. So you balance between being with your children and getting your work done. If you can't say, oh, I'm going to work less. I want my hours cut. We're not allowed to think that way. You see, in the way of this world, we're told that that is heresy. Called corporate heresy. We're called lazy if we think this way. But that's not what workers think. That's what bosses think. Of all the people I know, there are barely a handful who would honestly call themselves even remotely his end to somehow touch that one. Not easy. Not easy. Not easy at all. We're tired after exhausting work week and decide, oh, we've got to relax. How do we relax? You gas up the car, hitch the trailer to it if you have one. Yell at your fussy kids in the back who really don't want to go anywhere. They just want to be at home with mom and dad. Just to have some time to relax. Have something to eat, enjoy, just some time with each other. But we have to go out because that's what everybody else does. So we fight the traffic and fly out only to have the car break down. The road needs to be towed in for hundreds of more dollars of repairs that we already don't have with all of the other bills that we already have as we crawl even more exhaustedly back home. Oh, so well prepared after this exciting weekend to go right back to work on Monday morning. No one having enjoyed a full day just to relax. Didn't happen. So you got to ask that question. Are we having fun yet? Didn't think so. The answer most likely is no, because we have left God out of our day-to-day lives. We come to Sabbath services or Sunday in many cases and figure that's all he needs. That's all he deserves. That's enough. But note what Yahweh inspired Isaiah to tell his people in his day. Isaiah, the 55th chapter, the 7th verse. Isaiah, the 55th chapter, the 2nd verse, it says, why do you spend money for that which is not bread? And your labor for that which does not satisfy? Hearken diligently unto me and eat you that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness. The question is, are we at peace? Are we at peace with our consumer-based capitalist society? Big businesses surely are. Because they love this endless quest for more, more, more. It satisfies them, but it doesn't satisfy us, or it doesn't bring us any true peace of mind. It's my experience, at least what I've observed in my lifetime among those whom I know. The answer is seen this. It's fascinating about us. But we are such creatures of our environment that we copy things without even realizing that we've done it. We mirror each other's behavior. So when you see someone yawn, you feel like yawning. When you hear someone laugh, you feel like laughing. Early on, when you have watched 30,000 acts of violence on TV before you're 12, when you teased or bullied at school, and you go home and watch more, when you go out and the bully comes at you again, what do you feel like doing? Committing violence? Of course not. Oh, no, absolutely not. Please do not continue to lie to yourself saying that these things do not matter. As actors, singers, rappers, and entertainers do, they lie and say that these scenes and this music in your ears all day will have no effect on you. They say those things because it relieves them of any responsibility for the climate that their art has helped create. Notice I said helped. I didn't say it completely created it because it did not. We did not need all that much help. But you see, the advertisers pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for the ability to control one 30-second spot of television programming in prime time. This year, the one I always look at is the Super Bowl, because that's when everybody's watching. So that's the one that they use to determine how much advertising costs. How much did it cost this year for a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl? $5 million. $5 million. That would budget us for, what, the next 20 years? Or more? $5 million for a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl. And then they turn around and try to say that advertising has no effect on people. Television has no effect on people. Music has no effect on people. Art has no effect on people. Okay, so what you're basically saying is that they threw $5 million away just because they wanted to give it to somebody. I don't think so. This is, after all, a corporate enterprise. They don't do much throwing money away. They had to have an expectation of some return on their, see if this word sounds familiar to you, investment. It is what it is. Yet, we continue to insist that watching 8 hours a day of television can't possibly have any effect on the individual. It certainly has no effect on the society at large. Excuse me? Who controls the airwaves? Who controls the airwaves? Let's go to Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, 1st verse. I figured somebody knew where I was going. Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, the 1st verse, where it says, "And he has made you alive who were dead in trespasses and sins, in which in time past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the will of the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now works in the sons of disobedience." After all, who controls this world presently? Let's go to 2 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, the 3rd verse. 2 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, the 3rd verse, where it says, "But also if our gospel is hidden, it is hidden to those being lost, in whom the God of this world has that takes too much time. So we have to cut it on that time. So we need more time. So we drive through and get our unhappy meal and go home and eat in front of the television and watch as fast as we can because we got other stuff to do. So we eat and watch television at the same time. We have almost no time spent on fixing anything. What a bargain. What a bargain. More. More salt. More protein. More saturated fat. But the question you have to ask yourself in this day and age is it actually protein? Is it actually protein? Or is it soy? You see, in this meat-saturated America, soy is not all that important. We like meat. We like burger. We like steak. At least that's what we're told. But worldwide, soy provides the majority of protein for the earth's people. And the weird thing has happened over the last 20 years or so. One company presently controls 98% of all world soybean production. Anybody want to know who that is? Somebody got the prize. Somebody said Monsanto.
There you go, Monsanto.
Their published official business plan from 2002 called for more. Well, that's not what they called for. That's what they were saying. It said that they planned ultimately to control 100% of all soy production globally. And then say they're about 4 points away. And that might have changed, probably understanding, who knows. Our government-protected multinational corporations they measure their success solely on the basis of profit. Controlling the majority source of protein for the entire human race, I would say that's going to do quite a bit for your bottom line. A lot of you probably die accidentally like that. But that doesn't mean you don't want to know what's happening. You do want to know what you're eating. Many don't care because the prince tells them, don't listen to that stuff. It's just conspiracy theory anyway. Right? It's just conspiracy theory. No one can control everything. Many will ask you, are you sure it's true? Are you sure it is? Even if you are, I got to ask my question back is, are you okay with it? Are you okay with it? Okay, let's say you are okay with it. Are your children okay with it? Are your grandchildren okay with it? Because it's only going to get worse. But that's an interesting question because if you don't have grandchildren already, as you will notice, you may not ever. Let's look at something. A GMO study from a couple of years ago. GMO food studies project that those who eat GMO foods will experience 100% infertility within 3 generations. It didn't say after 3 generations, it said within, which means some are losing it already. Dr. Nicola and other doctors have posted all over the internet proof positive that these studies are not just a conspiracy theory. critical medical problems. Why do you suppose it is that the United States is the only country left in the developed world? Now, the undeveloped countries, most of them are doing their own genome. As of yesterday, there are 39 countries that have banned all GMO crops and foods from even coming into their borders. And you would think that it would be the smartest country in the world, right? We won't even label it. But when I read these names, don't think these people are stupid. They're not. These are the 39 countries that have banned GMO crops. Azerbaijan, Austria, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Denmark, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Moldova, the Netherlands, Northern Ireland, Norway, Poland, Russia, Scotland, Serbia, Slovenia, Switzerland, Ukraine, Wales, Belize, Ecuador, Peru, Venezuela, Bhutan, Kyrgyzstan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Algeria, and no, it wasn't just the kids movie, Madagascar. Yet, the United States, as I said, still refuses to even label GMO foods in our grocery store. Money over lives. More. This, have we heard it again? This is not right. You see, this is the essence of our stock markets and their greedy partners, the banks and corporations. All of these are part of a system dedicated and evaluated solely on the basis of profit margin and growth. Within this growing monster, humanity can't be considered. Who cares about us? This machine cannot afford to consider anything other than bottom line profit margin. And what do we want? More. It must consume anything and eliminate everything that stands in the way. We call it business. We were given a piece of it just to justify its existence in the mind of us should the markets collapse, we would instantly become the richest people on the planet. You a lie. You a lie. You a lie. We would instantly become chattel slaves to our debtors. Note the word of God concerning debt. Let's go to Proverbs, the 22nd chapter, 7th verse. Proverbs, the 22nd chapter, 7th verse, where it says, the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is the servant to the lender. Very plain. Nobody can say, I didn't understand that. Proverbs, the 29th chapter, the 7th verse again. The righteous considers the cause of the poor, but the wicked does not understand wisdom. Please, if nothing else, understand that they care nothing about you except that you continue to consume and keep them rich. And if that isn't enough, if you don't do it fast enough, the whole thing will collapse. And now, not only do you consume to get rich, but now you got to give it all back. And now you become slaves to them because you can't pay it back. And don't even get into the whole idea that the money is worthless and all the money that they sold him, they didn't really have. There's a great video called, there are several talking about the Federal Reserve and how it works. If you get out there and look at them, please do, and understand what we're dealing with here more fully. It's a 3-hour thing. I don't have time to go through all that. And personally, if we don't know by now, we don't want to know. It is what it is. But they want you to keep them rich. That means ultimately, they have consumed you. And that done with the support and abetting of your government. But remember, you have wanted things this way. Going all the way back to 1 Samuel 8. That's what we wanted. We want a king. That's what we want. We wanted this. We wanted stuff. And we wanted all of it. And we voted for this and allowed for this government to turn their backs on us. And in the process, turn their backs on Elohim. So, in a way, we set ourselves up for this abuse. Yet, because of all the elapsed time, we believe that what happens in the world is totally separate from your faith. It doesn't have to be. If it is that way, it's because you allow it to become that way. So how do we get around all this? It's too big now. It's too ugly now. It's too nasty now. But we do have seen too many these days. I'm still waiting to see a hearse with the velvet luggage racks. Haven't seen one yet.
Come on, Mike.
In other words, you can't take it with you. Or surely if you try, somebody will check it at the door. Whichever way you go, somebody will be there to check it at the door. We must live for God. This doesn't require us to be better than anyone. It doesn't require that we have more. Forget about keeping up with the Joneses. Believe me, by now, they're broke too.
Yes.
The antidote to more, believe it or not, is less. When Yeshua came, John the Baptist gave us an example of the less is more, the right kind of concept. Let's go to John, the 3rd chapter, 30th verse. It's short, we're almost out of here. John, the 3rd chapter, the 30th verse, where he said simply, he must increase, but I must decrease.
Oh, yes.
Having enough to fulfill your obligations is enough. If you got enough to help somebody else out, great. Do that. You see, you were in no contest with anyone else for things, for stuff. If you are, perhaps you're not attached properly to your faith. And your spirit may be weak. You see, the only antidote to vanity and more was our interesting love. It was the theme of the feast last year, the death of self. Yeshua taught us this on the stage. Luke, the 23rd chapter, 44th verse. Luke, the 23rd chapter, 44th verse, where it says, and it was about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour, noon to about 3 in the afternoon. And the sun was darkened at 3 in the afternoon. And the veil of the temple was torn in the middle. And crying with a loud voice, Yeshua said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And when he had said this, he breathed out the spirit. Or some may have gave up the ghost, whatever it is. He died. And when the centurion saw what had been done, he glorified God, saying, truly, this man was righteous. You see, John was martyred. Yeshua was martyred. To the world, they were nothing. In order to make it into the kingdom of God, we also must become nothing to this world. You see, this flesh is indeed